I don't have a really formal intro for this. This is really a space for us to connect and, for Andrew and Stacie to really share about their insights on how to bring the Collab Lab spirit to our local communities and really like what's ahead of us for early career developers support. I feel just a lot of, like nonprofit organizations are disappearing. Um, Yeah, I'm curious to really hear your insights on that too. Thank you,
Yeah,
Andrew.
yeah. There have been a few organizations, yeah, that have kind of shuttered recently, right? Um, and this was obviously not an easy decision for Stacie and me. And for me, like, 6 months or so ago, I kind of backed off from most of my Collab Lab responsibilities. I'm just, trying to run a startup now and just really didn't like have capacity to do it. Knew that, Stacie's there and like a bunch, all of you like, kind of contributing and everything, like that things were in pretty good shape. Stacie is also now kind of at the point where she's like too busy um to kind of lead the thing. And so she and I met and I actually was like, we were trying to talk about different options of like how to manage things. Can you, try to delegate more? Can you like do all the, there's all these kind of strategies that we thought about. And at some point I was like, what if we just close it down? She was kind of like, that doesn't sound right at first, but then like we kind of sat with it for a minute and it was like, you know what, that kind of like it's sad to end something, right? Um, on the other hand, it's also like I feel like we've all done this kind of amazing work over the last few years, and a lot of you are mentors that have kind of contributed and all these kinds of things. And so it's like the thing, I guess there were some things that we talked through about this, like not things we wanted to kind of guard against, which were like it kind of petering out over time, or maybe like kind of handing it off to, like there were like options around like franchising, sort of in a sense of like allowing people to like take the materials and go and run with it. And it's then, but like having it still kind of under the Collab Lab umbrella, and then the worry becomes like, do they not sort of follow the vision and like kind of the things that we try to establish with it and stuff. And just every other option just sounded kind of potentially messy, or like, you know, not really kind of in keeping with the spirit of the community that we've all built. So um in the end, like, deciding to kind of shut it down, try to do that cleanly and strong with like a last cohort, and then just, offer all the materials we developed over the years for free for other people to use. And like, if they want to create their own community or something like that, based on the things that we've all built, that's great. Happy to, actually, I'm going to be meeting with Ada Developer Academy in Seattle, but the, boot camp that I really, really highly respect. And they're interested in learning from us, and kind of I'm going to offer them materials that we've developed and that kind of thing, and see if they can integrate some of that. Um, so it's and the community is going to continue as well, right? Like we're going to keep the Slack team. We'll see how long we can keep it as a pro Slack team. Once we're not an official nonprofit, maybe Slack won't notice for a few years or something. I don't know. But if they do, like we'll go back to just being a free Slack team or whatever. But we want people to still stay connected and to support each other, and you know, also support other people, like to get come like breaking into tech. So one of the ideas we had at the very beginning was that, there's this kind of ripple effect that we're trying to set off, right? And so now, 5 years in, there's hundreds of people who've gone through the program or mentored. There's probably 400 or 500 people. I don't know. I haven't actually looked to see how many people are in Slack. Um, all of you, you are all, kind of in various stages of your own careers and have, different levels of influence in your organizations. And, it's my hope for sure that you all are doing little things here and there to kind of open doors for other people, right? So we're, I think just the fact that we've all kind of had this shared experience means that like tech is a little bit better off than it was 5 years ago. Um, anyway, I don't know. I'm really interested in hearing from everybody else too about just kind of, if you if you want to process it or you have questions or all those kinds of things, like I'm, here to kind of talk with you all about it as well. Um, there's a lot more I could say, but I'll kind of stop there for now. Just people, what reactions are.
I'm glad you're partnering with Etta. I'm a huge fan of what they're doing too, and also
Mhm.
know they're struggling too due to
Hmm.
their format, right? Because they're offering like internship, and a lot of companies decide to pull out their fund, so which is really unfortunate. But I think they're starting another cohort soon, so maybe they get some funding. I hope they keep going, really.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, they've been around forever. They actually, I gave a talk at one of their early cohorts in 2015. So that's how long they've been around. And you know, they're a year-long program. You do what's, I guess, 6 or 9 months or something of training, and then you go to this internship. They have really strong relationships with companies in Seattle and other places. Um, and it's all free to, like, if you get in, it's very competitive to get in, but if you get in, it's free. And that's very much in the spirit of what we have done here at Collab Lab, like to not have barriers to people doing this. Um, and it's honestly my favorite thing about the whole thing is no money is exchanged. Like it's just like people are here to help because they want to help, and people are here to like, of their own volition to try to learn more about the industry and how to succeed and stuff. So thanks for the link, Amelia. Hey, Stacie. Hey, Stacie. Oh, no.
Oh,
You scare her off.
just
Uh,
kidding, just kidding.
yeah, she's so introverted. I'm sure it's shocking for her to hear her name. Anybody have questions or reactions to it all?
I know the first one is always like, I'm gonna wait. I can share. Definitely when you share that letter, it took me a little while to really respond.
Mhm.
Um, but now I feel this is really like a graduation kind of thing. Yes, it's gonna be sad for a long time maybe, but at the same time, I feel, we will definitely bring whatever we've learned and, our friendship to wherever we are.
Mhm.
Who's the second one? Hopefully it's easier.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Uh, what are your thoughts on like keeping the meetup going? Like, would it have to be separate and like not have the Collab Lab branding? Or I guess the reason why I'm asking is like I'm in a Discord channel and like we just kind of hang out and we
Mhm.
have talks and stuff like that. Like it's a fantastic community. Like if we could do something like that, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I know you've said that you're interested in keeping the meetup going too.
Yeah, because I found a lot of people are not part of our ecosystem actually start to join. And I feel
Mhm.
it's great, right? Like having more people come together, learn new things. And this doesn't have to be just a Collab Lab thing. So I'm happy to continue that and maybe integrating. How many people are in the Discord now, Daniel? For the what's the call?
The one that I started, the
Yeah.
Believe in Serverless one, we are at, I think it's like 800. We just started in
Wow.
January, so it's been pretty wild.
Huh.
The reason why I say Discord is that the moderation settings are a lot better than Slack
Mm-hmm.
for like people's safety and all that.
Yeah, and that's kind of if it were to be something that was kind of more opened up to people beyond the immediate community, that would be super important. So, um, yeah, I think those are great ideas. And, you know, uh, hi, Stacie, welcome. Um, like,
Hi.
hi, we could keep the meetup going. It is like $120 a year or something to do. Like what, like kind of there's like a kind of haha business side of all this, like shutting this thing down, which is, you know, like closing out bank accounts and like, you know, whatever, incorporating, you know, like not being a company anymore and stuff, right? So, you know, we're not going to have a way to fund the meetup after the end of the year. It's actually really funny. I don't know, Stacie, if you noticed, but like a bunch of donations have started coming in. It's like,
I know.
oh,
I
no,
was
we're
like,
shutting
keep
down.
them, keep them.
But we're gonna try to do something. We have, I don't know, like well over 10 grand in the bank, and we're gonna try to do something with that money in terms of like, you know, maybe like scholarships for people, or you know, to like do some things. We have some like, we had a laptop loan program for a couple of years, so I have like next to my desk, I have a stack of old laptops, and so we're gonna maybe do some kind of raffle with those. Like, anyway, at the end of this, the idea is that we don't really have any assets. Any ongoing operations like the Slack team are free and that kind of thing. So, but if people, you know, like UFO or other people want to kind of take the initiative to keep certain pieces of the community going, I think that's great. Prepay meetup for like the next 6 years or something. Yeah, that's an idea. I don't know if you can you do that.
Let me trying to do some research. Maybe we can, but maybe we can. I know the worst is change to another platform, but I've been using Luma a lot. I love their UI, by the way. I just feel like so much better than meetups.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a meetup in North Carolina, accessibility meetup, that just decided to leave meetup.com and go with like figure out a different way to
Yeah.
coordinate stuff. So maybe that's an option too. But
I saw some like people sharing, they start to raise their like the rate. I was like, oh, that's I don't know. I haven't really looked into the details. I just saw that.
Did you
Maybe
say
that's why.
Luma? Is that something you said?
Yeah, Luma.co, Luma.
I never heard of it. I am intrigued.
Let me find out.
Oh, that is not how
No,
I would have spelt it.
Yeah.
Lu.ma. So LU.ma. Yes.
All right. Interesting.
Stacie, your bikes got stolen?
Yes.
Oh
It's been
no.
a nightmare. And I like the people who did it live in a Winnebago on the street, and I've like walked by and they just have heaps of bikes covered up with tarps. So it's going through the whole insurance police situation. It's
Oh
ugh.
man.
When you don't have a car and that's your like form of transport, it's quite jarring.
Oh, that's terrible. Sorry.
That's okay. Life will go on. They needed it more than I did.
Well,
Very generous.
anyway, I have a whole story about, I met the guy who runs Bike Index, which is like this thing that tracks down stolen bikes, and he's like testifying in federal court because it's basically cartels that like ship truckloads of bikes to like Mexico and places and like sell them and stuff. So
It's crazy. It was super violating because they like broke into our like double locked apartment and then like pried open the bike garage doors. It wasn't even like they were just on the street and got taken. It's like very violating.
ugh.
Anyway,
I
enough
had a
about
bike.
me.
I had a bike stolen a couple of years ago because I went into my Pilates class and forgot to lock it. Which, so it's totally my fault. But anyway. Hi, Lauren.
Hey, Lauren. Are those baby photos behind you? I can't see.
Oh yes, a birthday coming up. So
Aww.
Fresh. Love
So
it.
Stacie, to catch you up on kind of like, I shared a little bit about just like some of the decision making and that kind of thing around this, and I don't know what I said exactly. It was just all off the cuff, but
That's good. I can share like my bit too. I'm sure a lot of it was covered with Andrew, but there's like so much that went into it, and not having prepared anything. A lot of it for me has been when we started the Collab Lab, it was what I felt the industry needed. It's what we all needed. It was more than enough. It was getting people into their first roles. It was doing really good. And it's just become harder and harder over the years to refine the program in a way that was really effective and really meaningful, because I'm honestly not sure that these days it is enough for people, given the job market and given what you need to get in. And I see a lot of these other programs out here that are paid and there are really high barriers to entry that are doing really great things and getting people like actual industry experience, you know, working agency style and stuff. And I've always aspired to something like that, but I think it's just become really hard to maintain on a volunteer basis. And so Andrew and I brainstormed quite a few times on what we could do to make it more sustainable to run and operate and more consistent. And everything that we came up with was just coming up short and just not enough to make it feasible long term. And we were like, there's going to be so many people who are like devastated, just like we were, to see the community kind of come to an end, the program to come to an end, because it was really hard for us to do. I sent Andrew a picture of me crying in a bar as I was like drafting up a farewell letter. Like, anyway, but it's just, when it came down to it, I thought it was best to sort of preserve everything we've created and just shut it down cleanly. And if people wanted to take something like this and run with it, take all the materials that we've created together, take, you know, everything we've come up with and just reuse that, I thought that was great. But I didn't want it to get into other folks' hands and become something that it wasn't, become something that, you know, doesn't adhere to potentially the demographic constraints that we intentionally put in place, or, you know, just little bits and pieces of the Collab Lab that we all built together would naturally start to, you know, degrade and change over time. And so to kind of preserve what we'd built, it just felt right to close this chapter and allow people to kind of open up the next one on their own and define their own paths and organizations. So that's what it was for me. Volunteer organizations are very hard to run, and all of you on this call specifically have been the reason that it has gone on this long and been so powerful. So appreciate you all so deeply.
For sure. Yeah, really I mean, EJ, like all of you who have like been here, Danielle, you know, Lauren, everybody, like Tim, Mindy, obviously, like everybody.
Just everyone.
I know. Who've just put in so much of your time, and it's like really humbling, because, you know, this is like, you never know, I guess, like in life, where you make a decision or you have an idea or something, and then you spend the next 5 years of your life working on it, you know. And to have that kind of idea and then have it attract so many people to come and like participate in it and contribute to it and help build it and all this kind of stuff, it's just, I mean, it's been an amazing experience for me. I feel like I've learned a ton, and I've learned things that kind of set me up for like my current situation, running a company and all this stuff. So it's been amazing for me too. Not just, I mean, I know a lot of people, you know, have gone through the program as developers of, you know, like they've said that they, you know, they were more confident going into interviews, or like all the kind of outcomes that we were hoping to get. But I personally got a lot out of it too. And especially that first summer of COVID, it was like the thing that kept me going, you know. Just have something where it felt like I was kind of making a difference in the world, you know.
Yeah, and it's not just the time that was put in by everybody, but like the heart and the energy and the passion too, because a lot of it wasn't just time. It was like bringing ideas and taking y'all's understanding of what's happening in the industry and like solving a problem and then actually following through. So more than the time, it's the ideas and the energy for me that I love to see it. But now I'm tired and I just need a break. If I'm being perfectly honest, I'm just tired. I like this 5 years, like didn't take a break, did be here to see through all of them. And there were times where I was like, oh, I just want to take a cohort off. But when it came down to it, I really couldn't do that. We weren't set up to do it. There was just too much to organize. And it's not any like one big thing like, hey, you know, person A, take this specific process. It's just all the glue work between all the different things to make sure it goes. But I did, and proud to have done it, happy to have done it. Eager to see what other people come up with next. Hopefully a way to get people paid. That was always my big thing with Collab Lab. How can we get people paid? And we could never really get to that point. I think that's the next thing.
I'm really hoping the market kind of bounces back soon. So I feel like the tear down capitalism. Yeah, exactly. That's funny. Yeah, I feel like it's so rough out there, and like everything has taken so many steps. Like I feel like a lot of the diversity, equity, and inclusion work in general just has been taking steps backwards, and like people have just deprioritized it left and right. I'm really hoping that comes back when the market gets a little bit better.
Yeah, it's been hard enough for like tenured engineers, let alone early career engineers.
Yeah,
it's hard to find a fighting chance these days.
Yeah, when things were growing, it seemed like we were making progress. Like, oh, they're, you know, early career people are getting hired, and then as soon as budgets got tight, it was like all that stuff got shut down. It was really disheartening.
I want to touch on something you said earlier, Stacie, about how it was harder to. You said initially when Collab Lab was founded, it felt like something that was needed, and I don't think it's no longer true necessarily, but it's harder to say that Collab Lab doing what it has been doing is the thing that the market needs. And I think that that's a very reasonable and noble thing to be able to acknowledge. I don't think that the end of something means that it was a failure the entire time. I think that you can define an ending and have that be what it had to be when it was there. But I think acknowledging that we can't force this thing to be something everyone needs when it isn't necessarily the same thing that we all started thinking it would be, you know, that's fine, that's good. And it's better, like you were saying, than letting it collapse into something that we aren't proud of.
Yeah, for absolutely sure. I don't know if you're feeling the same way as me, but I like the last two cohorts, probably it became a lot harder for me to like be like super rally around, like, come in, we're gonna like get you what you need, we're gonna get you that job, we're gonna practice with you, because I was like, we're gonna do what we can.
Yeah,
and then good luck.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, good.
I didn't, working with my last cohort at the end of the last quarter, I didn't feel like we were lying to anybody necessarily, but it was harder to be like super convinced. 4 of my mentees have gotten jobs, which I'm so grateful for and proud of them for working so hard to get jobs. But it took a lot of like honest discussions about what the state of the industry was, and like really hard discussions about salary and things like that. And the fact that they could get jobs is a good sign. But we're still not where we were when Collab Lab was first founded. And it doesn't feel good to feel like you as a mentor, as someone who's responsible for these devs, are anywhere close to selling a bad promise. So I can see why that wouldn't be fun to keep going necessarily.
Also, there's like something in my mind that I swear when Twitter became not Twitter anymore, that was like a turning point in my life. And I think that a lot of that kind of like it robbed a lot of that additional community from me that I felt that I had around the engineering space, where I could like felt really good promoting and like drumming up a lot of energy. And now I feel like it's just removed a really powerful avenue for the success of Collab Lab.
At the risk of being dramatic, I felt like my world got smaller when Twitter collapsed from being what it was. And like, Andrew, am I wrong? Or I found Collab Lab from Twitter, right? I think we followed each other or something.
Yeah.
Like I had no mutual friends in Collab Lab. I just kind of liked what Collab Lab was doing as far as seeing on Andrew's Twitter. And then I was like, hey, can I join? And he was like, yes, please do that. And I've been here since then. So
I don't think that's dramatic at all. That sounds exactly right. I feel the exact same way.
I mean, it's been our main marketing engine the entire time. And now I don't even like want to go on and say anything.
I know, me too.
I'm out here posting on LinkedIn like a professional, and I hate it.
I know. Sometimes I just want to share a really dumb thought, and like I have nowhere to do that now. They live in my head.
I can't post bad jokes on LinkedIn.com.
Doesn't fit.
Oh, I love it. Right, like my future employers are going to see this.
I mean, they're also on my Twitter too, which is why I am the same person as I always am. But Twitter's just not the place where everyone goes for bad jokes. That's just not, or LinkedIn rather, was not the place everyone goes for bad jokes, and so it just feels off color to be that person.
Like when I wanted to lament about my bike, I was like, where do I go to do it? And then I was like,
how do I tell strangers online about my life now?
Exactly.
Exactly.
I
Oh,
do
what is this
feel there are a
world
lot
coming
of,
to?
yeah, I do feel that there are a lot of like influencers actually doing that on LinkedIn. I was like,
Probably.
I don't need to know that. Thank you.
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff being posted on LinkedIn that I'm like, "Ugh, questionable content for this platform, friend."
Mhm.
I feel like on Twitter I'm wearing like casual clothes, just out having fun, and on LinkedIn I'm wearing like a full business suit, and I can't say
Mhm.
certain things in a full business suit. I can't make bad dad jokes or whatever.
That doesn't stop me, that the bad dad jokes, but yeah, I know what you mean. It's not quite the right thing. And then there's like, where do you go? Like Threads or Mastodon or like it's just like it's such a mess. Anyway.
Step two after tearing down capitalism is remake Twitter in like a non-capitalist way. Obviously something I can wave my hand and do.
Yeah, small fish, small fish.
Mhm.
Anyway, excited about this next cohort, excited to bring live interviews back. I think that's my big thing is I was like, all right, if we're going to do this one last cohort, I want to make it like good, like bring back the things that I think were the most important that we missed whenever we did the curriculum revamp, try and straighten it out a bit. Christina helped me kind of redo the order of the content again to sort of work in some of those things that we took out. No changes to the project that we did. So if there's project changes that need to be made, go ham, make it the best it can be for this last one.
He did like,
If it's worth anything, Stacie, I ended up doing the interviews anyway with my last cohort or with my last group. I was like,
Oh,
I'm doing
good.
what I'm doing the live interviews. I'm not doing,
So
I'm not
did
letting
I.
AI train my mentees. No.
Good for you. That was another one of the things that I was like pulling at straws, figuring out how can we scale this better and make it less reliant on like getting, because one of the hardest parts of Collab Lab has been Career Lab because it just takes so much human power to do.
Mhm.
And like without wanting to put too much on mentors where we're like, hey, no, you just spent, 10 weeks directly mentoring, but can you also do another 4 meetings this week that are mock interviews? It's like a lot.
Which
So
is a shame
getting,
because consistently everyone's like, that was the best part. That was like
I
the
know.
part where I applied everything I did for the last 8 weeks.
Yeah. So we're bringing it back for this last one. Honestly, like if somebody wanted to do some kind of extension, like keep the spirit going, just offering like an open Calendly to mock interview people could be a good, easy, like way to commit your time because it is so valuable.
And I worked hard on those interviews.
You worked hard on those interviews. Somebody should use them. Agreed.
I wish Shelly were here so we could praise her to her face for all the hard work she did maintaining
Yeah.
Good job,
everything.
Shelly.
Yeah, because it definitely wouldn't have been what it was if she hadn't taken over. And also her commitment was very galvanizing. Like I have to do this for Shelly. I have to do Shelly proud every quarter if I'm doing Career Lab. I can't disappoint a former teacher. She'll scold me.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, Collab Lab probably would have been about a year shorter if Shelly wouldn't have stepped up and done that. That's a lot. So A+ teacher Shelly is now engineer Shelly.
Exactly. Teacher engineer Shelly. That never goes away. The way she shows up in meetings is very, oh, you were a teacher, weren't you? Every single time I talk to her, I'm like, oh my goodness, you have your stuff together.
Absolutely.
But to what you were saying, Stacie, I do think it'd be very valuable if someone kept the torch going for Career Lab because I know that there's no holy grail for getting our early career developers into the market, but I do think that consistently people feel like having been able to be gently grilled by a mentor before being actively grilled by a real interviewer has helped them show up better in interviews. So that is one major lever I think we can help pull for them.
Yeah. I've definitely walked into interviews myself. Like, I wish I would have practiced before I got here. This is embarrassing. It's important practice.
I feel like even just seeing the resources has been great. I mean, when I've looked at people's LinkedIn, then I'm like, oh, I should go update my LinkedIn. But seeing those rubrics or, even the sample questions for the interviews, even if they don't actually do the interview, it was like a nice reminder.
Yeah, I get that effect from application review at Collab Lab when I'm looking at people's like readmes in their GitHubs. I'm like, y'all are cool. People got really cool when I was busy doing other stuff.
You're a sucker for a good readme, though.
I love the readmes.
Mhm.
Love those, especially if they're like littered with emojis and like personality. I'm like, that's the one.
Stacie loves glitter and razzle dazzle. She can be
I
she
love
can be swayed. My GitHub is just like a graveyard of weird commit history. That's all I've got going on. I have no presentation to my name, no razzle dazzle. I need to learn from these
Yeah.
developers.
We moved to GitLab at work and then I just died on GitHub.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the source control version of Twitter ending.
As someone who just I was in the most recent Collab Lab cohort as a mentee. Everyone was talking about the LinkedIn reviews or like the career lab aspect. I think the LinkedIn review aspect was like really helpful for me personally, just because I had not like updated that in a while. So having someone who was, I had Louis Knoll reviewed my LinkedIn, and he was super helpful and gave me like a lot of like conversational feedback after reading through it. So that was very helpful to me personally. And I know that there's talk about reincorporating the live interview opportunities again, which I think will be very, very helpful to collabbies. But I do think that, like, as someone who, when I was accepted into the program, I knew that there was going to be pair programming involved even before I applied, and I was still terrified about the prospect of doing that, and like about the prospect of like presenting code live to engineers who actually knew this stuff very in depth compared to me. And the nervousness never fully went away, but I still think that skill of like presenting code live, or like talking through problems in the pair programming sessions really helped me build my confidence. And it's a very similar skill to what you need to have to have a good interview somewhere.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, that's been a really consistent theme throughout the program, is just a lot of, if you're kind of studying on your own or something, you don't talk to other people about it. And so you don't kind of build up, this is like literally just like neural pathways of like having said the words before. It just makes it that much easier when you're like in this kind of pressure situation, sitting across from someone, and you have to articulate, what it is you were doing. Having, demoing every week and like pair programming and all that kind of stuff. It's like just kind of, it just gets you reps. It's like you practice doing it, So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And shout out to Danielle. She was the mentor for our group. So
nice.
Yeah, I'm sorry to y'all's cohort, Amelia, that you didn't get the real career lab experience that everybody else had got. That was a total like flop on our part. We were like, because it used to be you'd spend 8 weeks doing the proper Collab Lab stuff, and then the following 2 weeks were optional, but it was like pure career lab, like all the career lab stuff. And then we were like, let's weave it in so that it's like a core part of the curriculum, but it just didn't work out, because it's always like the second priority, like doing the work is the first priority. So when people ran out of time, they're like, I'm not gonna do that other stuff, and then they don't benefit from it. So
yeah, no problem.
I
Well, we've
will give
also,
anyone who wants one an interview. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I love doing it. So
take EJ
I'll
up
make a
on it.
Calendly. Oh, look at this cat, everyone. The cat was interrupting Yolanda, so
The cat's saying, "You guys did awesome." Although he's not that happy, but
Is it dinner time for the cat? Is that why?
I think so.
Stacey's gonna
He's been
Stacey's
bothering
gonna
me.
out me
He's
on
like,
LinkedIn.
By the way, I think that there are a few like free platforms you can do mock interviews on. Is that ADI? Is it ADI? Has it ring the bell? Anyone? Um,
Haven't heard of it, but
yeah, let me try to find it. Yeah, there are definitely like platforms out there which doesn't charge anything for you to schedule, like mock interviews, technical interviews as well. So if you want to utilize them, please do. Um, yeah, we need more practice, as much practice as we can. Especially technical interviews. It's so foreign, right? People staring at your code. It's just, yeah, it's definitely a skill set you need to build.
Mhm.
I think that was one kind of downside too. Like when I would try and refine Career Lab is not really know, like I wish we could have had some kind of survey for people who were out interviewing, like what were your technical interviews like? Because they can be so different. And we had a very specific kind of one that we offered for Career Lab, but it's like if we could have been more aware of like how things were evolving in the industry, I think we could have been even more powerful.
My platonic ideal for Career Lab, someone get Shelly in here so she can hear me, um, was
We'll send her the
some,
recording.
yeah, yeah. I'll bug her personally probably too at some point because I love to bug people with my ideas. Ask Andrew. Um, uh, my platonic ideal was kind of like for us to have like a full interview loop developed so that we had each stage of the interview something we could do so that someone can get used to the like all the steps that they might go through and not just necessarily technical, but that's a whole commitment, obviously. But there are so many things that you don't get to experience until you're in that moment and having those feelings of being in a situation where you're talking to a manager or like maybe even a VP or a director, depending on how small the company is, which can be so scary. And it would be really cool to have something where we get to mock up the entire interview loop and give feedback on each of those things rather than just the technical stuff because it's harder to get feedback on those non-technical things because people don't really mock those.
Yeah, and just like a general overall like walk through the entire process with like what to expect all along the way would be good because I think a lot of people who are doing their first kind of interviewing for engineering don't quite understand, say, like the role of a recruiter or what negotiation can look like or, what the purpose of each of those is from the hiring person's standpoint. So like once you understand that a little bit better, and I think that's pretty similar across the board, like the whole kind of flow. It's a bit nuanced, but like the purpose is still very similar. I think that can help with the way that you show up in an interview and give you a lot of confidence. So that could have been cool.
Lauren, what do you think?
I was just curious, are you all part of different communities where, I mean, I know the Collab Lab has always been focused on getting people, set up at the start of their careers, but once you're like partly part of your way in, sometimes I feel pretty siloed. I've been at the same company for 4 years and I don't really know what other people's positions are like or how my position would transfer over. It would be nice to just talk about sometime, but are there other communities that some of you are part of that, I don't know, that you talk about those things?
I just recently joined two and I found Yufa in one. I, I don't remember which one it was, but I joined SheTO, which is like women and non-binary folks in tech. And it's actually a huge community. And I went to this conference in the Bay and a bunch of people there were like, oh, I'm part of SheTO. Are you part of SheTO? And that's where I found about it. And it's like that. There's like events where you can like meet up and talk to people about careers and opportunities and just generally what's happening in the industry. And then I also joined one called the New Club, which is again for like women in engineering, women in tech, generally in leadership positions. That is the same kind of thing. They even host like retreats and stuff for their people. You have to pay to go to them, but they have like big name speakers who are like, women in C-suite positions and stuff that were interesting. I did it, but I'm not a super active member of the community. My hope is that like someday when I have more time, like after Collab Lab winds down, I'll start like engaging more in those communities to sort of like find my next big thing, my next big opportunity, but is it going to be a minute?
Yeah, I think both organizations are more focused on the Bay Area. At least they're organizing in-person events in the Bay Area. Although I think the new club also have organizing like events in New York as well, maybe New York and California area. That's my yeah, that's I joined the community because I think one of my friends who works there and they started the place and then she moved from Seattle to the Bay Area. And then I was like, oh, we need more in-person events here. They were like, oh, we're coming, but never really. So let's see, maybe in the future.
That is kind of
Um,
one of the unfortunate things about tech still is it's quite
yeah,
hubbed around the Bay.
yeah. It's I definitely see a lot more like conferences in California and also New York. Seattle, Cascadia JS, I went this year. It's amazing community. I think they're organizing events in Seattle and Portland, kind of rotate. Um, yeah, it's really like location based, unfortunately, for like in-person events. Maybe Lauren should start one. Like
I
really.
was gonna say, well, I can go to California sometime. We'll just do a trip.
Laura, you're in DC area, right?
Yes.
Yeah. There's got to be some good meetups out there.
Yeah, you know, now that you all are talking about that, that reminds me that I think there is some, I've heard of some that I should look up again. But like EJ mentioned, I feel like this has been my external tech community for a long time. So
Yeah, it's really hard to have like more than one. Like I feel like that's a lot to ask of our energy these days in this life that we
Yeah.
like to be involved in more than one community, like that's a stretch.
More than one that you're like really involved in, right?
Mhm.
Like, you know, you can kind of like track maybe a couple of them or something.
I feel like it was easier again when there was Twitter, when you could just kind of scroll past
Yeah.
what's going on and you didn't have to go into a Slack community to consume big long form posts. It's like an event's upcoming. Join us. Click.
So like Stacey, kind of like you were saying, like I'm excited to see what people do too, because like I got to meet Chiamaka in person, right? And she was saying that like she's like, what am I gonna do now that I don't have Collab Lab? Like I was like my whole like outside of work and like her social life, that was the thing she did. And now there's going to be all this capacity there and the same person, the same instincts of like, I want to help people and do these things. So where is that energy going to go? You know, like into something cool. And I feel like Collab Lab has created this big community, this big pool of people who are kind of aligned in like how we think tech needs to change. And all these people are going to be in a way kind of freed up to go have that influence on other communities, you know, which I think could be a really it'd be like that's where the ripple effect could like really kind of take off or something. I don't know. So I don't know, maybe there's something there where as people do those kinds of things, you know, they kind of share back to Collab Lab of, you know, like I'm now involved in this thing and we're trying to accomplish these things. And I don't know, just it'd be fun to know some of, you know, what that effect is that people have on other communities.
By the way,
I think
thank you for sharing all the resources here. I will definitely like save them somehow and share them with the group. I feel there's so many things are here. Yeah. You were saying, Stacey, you were saying something.
I was just saying, like, I am very curious too to see what people do. And I think it'll be an interesting sort of like long game to see what happens because our energies ebb and flow so much as we go through our kind of career growth. Like a lot of us come in like full of beans, ready to get our first job, like taking on a bunch of different stuff, involved in as many communities as we can be a part of. And then like as you start getting really like sucked into work and developing your own career, I feel like your energy might lessen. And then as you like get inspired to do something new, and it's just like things ebb and flow over time. So people who have gone through Collab Lab or who have mentored might, you know, take a few years to just invest in themselves and might go on to do the next big awesome thing 5 years from now. And I would like love to figure out, how do I know about that? Like, how do I make sure that that comes back to me so that I can champion them again?
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
wasn't sure the right place to share this, but I remember actually the the time I heard about the Collab Lab. Stacie posted in some Slack community, and I reached out. I was like, "Hey, sorry for the random DM. This sounds really cool." And I remember doing the first like meeting Andrew. I was like, I really like this energy. Let me go volunteer. And I ended up volunteering for a couple of cohorts, you know. But one thing that was really interesting that I didn't think about until fairly recently was um, there's there's work, there's life, there's all sorts of things going on. Um, but there's also something I learned out of the Collab Lab as a mentor. I mean, you learn many things also from your collabs, but um, it was like I really like this mentoring thing. And it just so happened that while I was volunteering or mentoring at the Collab Lab, I was between jobs at one point, and I was being very intentional about places to apply to. And I hadn't thought about it before, but I was like, I really like this. I want to go somewhere that makes mentoring like part of my role or part of a thing that the company cares about. And I was very intentional in interviews. And so I've been at my current role for about a year and change. And I've like mentored every cohort within that quarter. And it has just been so interesting to sort of see like this thing that I didn't know I liked to, okay, well, let me do this outside of work to help out some developers to, okay, like this is a not insignificant part of my job and is shaping, the direction I would like my career to go in. So I just thought that was really interesting. And yeah, figured I'd share.
I love that. I love bringing it into your jobs. I think we have a lot of influence and a lot of power in our roles in our companies to do things and open up little doors like this and create different change. Andrew spent a lot of time at Zapier kind of mentoring people through building an entire program around getting people into tech that we called our Path into Engineering program. It is no longer a thing because of the state of the industry. But it did get a lot of people in from support all the way into engineering and kind of was built on some of the principles that we founded here at Collab Lab. So I totally encourage you all to take what we've done here, things like Aditya saying, and like figure out how you can bring those into your day-to-day world. Oh, Mindy, that's such a bummer too.
Well, everything goes in cycles. We can, hang on to the next one, but not forget. Yeah, like this quarter, this is the first time I've ever done this, but I'm mentoring someone who wants to learn how to mentor. And I was like, whoa, I've never thought about that.
Oh, wow. That's like you've leveled up or something.
It's very meta.
I'm pretty sure like for promotions, one of the things they look for is something like that too, right? If you're willing to mentor junior talent, if you're just willing to help out with the team, I think that's really important too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, selfishly, I'm doing it because I enjoy it. Like, I think your career is not necessarily up and to the right. And so, like, I guess if it helps, sure, good side benefit. But you spend a lot of your hours at work. You should probably be doing things you enjoy doing in those hours.
Yeah, 100%.
If
And I
you
was,
have that,
yeah,
luxury, of course.
I was chatting to a engineering manager and he was sharing with me like right now a lot of companies they're hiring more like senior roles. And then he feels like some of the team members just don't feel fulfilled because they don't have people to mentor. I think that's going to be a problem. So hopefully, like company decide to start hiring more entry-level folks.
Yep. There's so many, anyway, there's so many reasons to hire people
Mhm.
across levels, you know, it's like it's such a healthier environment and gives people a pathway to move up and kind of stay satisfied and things. So yeah, I mean, not every place does value like mentoring, right? So like if that's like, so there are places where that's not going to help you get a promotion at all, right? One of the very early on, I don't know what cohort it was, Stacie, maybe like 4 or something, when Adrian mentored, something like that. At the end of it, she said to her group, she's like, "You've just been given a gift. And the gift is that you have now experienced a healthy team, like a supportive team, a high functioning team. And so now you go into an interview, or you start a job, and you're going to be able to recognize like, oh, this doesn't feel right. Like this, you know, or oh, okay, I'm in a good situation. You're going to better be able to kind of tell whether or not you're in a place that does value mentoring and growth and those kinds of things. Where, you know, like, you know, you don't necessarily know that until you've experienced, right? Experienced it. So that's one of the things also I'm really proud of with Collab Lab is people get to be on a team where you're not like, oh my God, I'm going to get fired if I make a mistake, that kind of vibe or whatever. And you're free to make mistakes and like, oh, okay, that's not how you do it. Let's do it this way. And oh, it worked better. And like kind of just get through some of that stuff that you know, like when you're first starting a job is kind of terrifying. Like, oh, what are people going to think of me and all that kind of stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm. Ricky, you're doing okay? I know I don't want to call you out, but do you have anything to share?
I don't want to call you out, but I'm going to call you out.
Yeah, I'm gonna call you out.
We love it.
Sorry, I just came in late, so I'm just kind of you know, spectating, drawing in the knowledge. Definitely appreciated the whole program. For me, it's was a nice experience to just see how a functioning team worked in development. And I'm actually like pursuing my my software or not software, computer science degree because of it. So it definitely like opened up some sort of pathway for me that I'm gonna go down. So very thankful for that.
Nice.
Yeah, I think if I had to do an analogy, it's like there's a concept of a third place, not very common in the US because I feel like it's like work in your apartment, that's it. But a third
Are you
place
a
is
fan of
just
Laura?
I've never
Okay, because
heard of
she talks about that all the time. So never mind.
Okay.
Keep going,
But
please.
I'm interested, so post in the chat. But yeah, this premise of like you can just have this space to exist. And I feel like in a lot of ways, the Collab Lab was and is that for a lot of people. So
Yeah, I think that's right. And it's that's why I think it's important for the community to stay intact, you know, and to kind of continue, even if we're not running the program anymore the way we have, like for people to still have feel like, you know, kind of keep some of those connections going and things. I think it'll kind of live on. And who knows? I mean, maybe something comes out of it where people they stay in touch and eventually they maybe start something else together, you know. There was like this was a kind of like maybe a year into the program too, where there were two different cohorts where like an individual from each of those cohorts then ended up just like kind of mentoring each other like ongoing for like at least a year afterwards or something. And I didn't find out about it for a long time. And I was like, oh, the two of you have been meeting regularly and like, you know, doing interviewing and like, you know, working on coding problems together. And I was like, oh, it's super cool. Like I had no idea. So I think there's probably a lot of that stuff that's happening kind of outside of our view or something. At least I like to think that there is. But like Yolanda, as an example, forever was meeting with tons and tons of people. Just like we had the para channel, but you were like master of the pair channel or something. I just
I
like
can't tell you how many people came in from outside of Collab Lab and they're like, oh yeah, I heard about this from Yolanda.
uh-huh.
How many people know Yolanda?
Like everybody. Seems
Everybody.
like.
Man, I had a lot of time during that chapter of my life. I've been on hiatus. My little one is growing up, he's just full of life, loves baseball. So I've just been so busy trying, after school baseball practices. And I just like, how do people juggle? Like, I only have one kiddo
Mhm.
and, I had to put a lot of things on the back burner. So I was just, coming here today was just a spur on the moment. We were talking about, I'm going to date myself here. We were talking about, my husband and I was talking about the movie The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. And we were talking about like, oh, how many movies are out? And we were like debating like, is the Scorpion King considered it? And anyways, so, and then I saw a notification on Collab Lab saying, we're meeting today. And I, I felt so busy. I had to mute a lot of things. So there's like a lot of things I've missed. So I'm really glad that I was on my cell phone at that moment, scrolling through, trying to figure out The Mummy and to see, I think, Andrew posting up like, here's, looking forward today or something like that. I'm like, oh, I should just hop on and see everyone faces again. But yeah, I'm glad that at that time, a year or two ago, people signed up for Collab Lab and a huge impact. Great people, got great experience. Super sad when I saw it ending, but I think it's like what Stacie said. It's good that it's ending on a good note. Like it's a good TV show. You don't want it to end, but you don't want it to drag on when you're like, oh, it should have
They
ended
swap
at
out
season
characters
4 or
and then,
5.
like,
Yeah.
the writing gets worse, all that stuff.
I totally
Yeah,
feel you
so
though too, Yolanda. That was like a big part of like my decision too. It's like I can't tell you a weekend in the last 5 years that I just got to focus on like being a mom and focus on me. Like every single weekend I was managing Collab Lab stuff. And then sometimes it'd be like my nights and weekends, depending on like what the season was and stuff. And just to be able to like cancel everything. I'm doing work and I'm gonna be a mom. That's what I want to do for like at least the next year before I commit to anything else. Because like you said, they grow up so fast and I feel like I've missed so much of it because I just feel like I constantly need to be busy doing something, like being productive. And like I would like to go to the baseball games and think this is my job right now. And I haven't got to do that yet. And my kids are already 6 and 8.
Oh my God, how'd that happen?
I know. It's wild. It's wild.
Right. On that note, it was lovely seeing everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mindy.
Thanks
Good
for
to
being
see
here,
you.
Mindy.
I'm gonna
Thanks for
bounce
everything
too. It
you've
was
done.
lovely to see you all. See you around for this last cohort.
Probably wrap it, right? Thanks everybody. It's really great to see everybody, and thank you everybody for all you've done for Collab Lab, and thanks Yufa again for organizing today.
Oh, thank you. We should probably do this from time to time. I think it's a way for
Yeah.
people to, to catch up and
Yeah.
yeah, so
Life
awesome.
updates. What do you up
Yes.
to now?
Mhm.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yes, for sure. Thank you all. Thank you all
All
for
right.
joining.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. Take
Bye,
care.
friends.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.